What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. We are doing the most powerful support build in Baldur's Gate 3 today. If my voice is a little bit hoarse, please forgive me. It's because I just recorded this whole video and realized that OBS was not picking up my microphone. What a wonderful time to be alive, eh? Anyway, I'm not going to waste too much time on the intro here. One thing I would like to say before we get into the game, so I can show you the build, is I looked at the statistics on my YouTube channel for how many people watch my videos are subscribed, and the statistic is actually pretty nuts. 99.4% of people that watch my content are not subscribed. So if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. I would really appreciate it. You're going to get tons of Baldur's Gate content. You're going to get the streams that I do here, right here on the YouTube channel as well, of Baldur's Gate 3. We're doing a Tactician, Jack of all trades achievement run in Baldur's Gate 3 right now, that we're doing live on stream. Which, by the way, the first episode of that run will be out on YouTube soon. Lots of content here on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Anyway, let's get in with the build. Don't want to hold you up anymore. Let's go. Here we are. We are in game now. We're going to respec my Shadow Heart in this playthrough, just so that you can see a full level 12 build of this character. If you've not got to Act 3 yet and you see her with silver hair, don't worry about it. It's a mod. Trust me. We're going to start off with Cleric here. For Cleric cantrips, you're going to take Guidance for sure. Other good options here: Light, Produce Flame, also really good options. Instead of Produce Flame, you could maybe get Sacred Flame. Both really good options, but we're going to have a lot of cantrips on this build anyway, so don't worry about it too much. For our Cleric domain, we're picking Life Domain, mostly because it gives us Bless, which is obviously an incredible concentration ability, a concentration spell. And also the buffs we get for healing by being a Life Domain Cleric, really great. We also get heavy armor proficiency by being a Life Cleric, which is going to be super useful, because we're going to be trying to bump our AC as high as possible, because we are just not going to want to get hit as much as possible as a support person in the back. We want to be defensible, and we want to be buffing our allies, getting hit as little as possible so that we can stay alive, carry on buffing our allies. Ability scores, let's just clear this real quick. We're going to want to go 16 Wisdom, 16 Constitution, 14 Dexterity, and then I would probably put the last 4 points in Charisma and Strength, respectively. We'll get into why some of these are important going forward, but the gist of it is that Wisdom is our Cleric modifier, Constitution is for our hit points and for our concentration saving throws on our spells, and Dexterity is for a little bonus little thing that we get with this class, as well as some saving throws. So you might see by the title that there's a particular class we're going to get down the road that uses Charisma. Don't worry about having a low Charisma, even though we're picking that. We'll get there. Level 2, we're staying with Cleric for now, and we are getting a couple things here. We're going to get our Preserve Life ability as our Channel Divinity as a Cleric, which is nice, and then we get Turn Undead, which is a situationally very useful thing when we're in a fight with a lot of undead. For our prepared Cleric spells, there's a couple here that we definitely want: Healing Word and Sanctuary for sure. We also want to get Create or Destroy Water. If we have any spellcasters in our party with lightning or thunder damage, or even ice spells, Create or Destroy Water is an incredibly good buff, because if you wet enemies, it like doubles their damage with those spell types, so go for that. Other good options here: Command, Guiding Bolt. They're also very good choices. They're probably the two I would pick here. Just a great little all-round pick of spells here. Character level 3. We are not going to Cleric. We're actually going to move over to Bard here. We're going to stay in Bard for a little bit. So for our cantrips, it's going to be very tempting to pick Vicious Mockery. Not because it does a lot of damage, because it imposes disadvantage on the enemy's attack roll if you hit them. Problem is, we're not going to hit them very often. We didn't get a particularly high Charisma because we didn't want to waste the points. So the DC to hit enemies with this is really easy for them to make. If I was the main character for this build, I might take some points away from Dexterity in my ability scores and put them on Charisma. Both because it means that this spell can hit more, also because you're going to be in conversation a lot, so that kind of tips the scales about whether investing in the ability scores for Charisma is useful. But at the end of the day, I think most people are going to have Shadow Heart in their party. Most people are going to have Shadow Heart as the support character, so this is going to be the most common situation that I'm showing you here. In that case, I would just pick a different cantrip, maybe Minor Illusion actually, and go from there. And that's going to be a theme that continues when we pick our bard spells as well. We're not going to be wanting to pick any spells really that rely on a saving throw. So some good examples: Longstrider, Speak to Animals, Featherfall, Disguise Self. These are things that you're going to want to pick instead of things that require you to make the enemy make a saving throw, because they're just going to make it. That's the problem. We're going to be picking other spells as a cleric that will make use of that stuff, but for now we're just going to be the most useful little person on the party. We're going to be able to speak to animals, we're going to be able to cast Longstrider on our party. Featherfall is also something that you pretty much always want somebody on your party to have. Disguise Self is also useful for some very specific scenarios. What you may not know about Disguise Self is, you know, those little small holes that you click on with your character, and unless you're a halfling or a dwarf or something, it says, oh, I can't fit in there. If you Disguise Self on somebody or on yourself, and you Disguise Self into a dwarf or a halfling, you can squeeze in those gaps. So, useful thing to have. Starting instrument obviously doesn't matter, and then abilities. We are going to pick Sleight of Hand here. It's going to become clear why we picked Sleight of Hand here. But let's continue with Bard for now. We'll get to Bard 2 next. One of the things we get here is Jack of all trades, so the skills that we're not proficient in, we get a little extra bonus to those, which is nice. But most importantly, we get Song of Rest, so we basically get an extra short rest by using this class action, which is obviously super useful, especially if you have a Warlock in your party. If you have Will, or if your player character is a Warlock, that's incredibly useful, because Warlock's spell slots refresh on a long rest, on a short rest, sorry. So having an extra short rest is a massive buff if you have a Warlock in your party. And Warlock's also a super fun class to play for a player character, so that's an extra way that you're kind of buffing your party just by having access to that. We get to learn another spell here, but again, most of the ones that are left here require the enemy to make a saving throw, which it's going to be too easy for them to make. If you don't care about that and you have bumped your charisma up a little bit, Fairy Fire's super useful. Otherwise, Sleep is the only one that left here that doesn't require a saving throw from the enemy, so we'll pick that for the sake of argument here. It's not really, those spells aren't really the key to this build, I would say. Level 5 Bard 3, this is where things start to get a little bit useful. We get Expertise here, which is why we picked Sleight of Hand. So we get +6 on Sleight of Hand now, which means that we don't necessarily need Astarion in our party anymore. Some of you might say, oh, I want Astarion anyway, but I always felt like I didn't want Astarion in my party, not because he's bad or anything, but because just I wanted other characters more. And it always kind of sucked that we never had a person in our party that was great at lockpicking. Now you do. So you get a +6, we'll also have the guidance on that, any other bonuses that we get from everybody else, any clothing we get that buffs dexterity or lockpicking checks, sleight of hand checks, there we go. You can even maybe pick the expertise and stealth as well, and you have basically a full replacement for Astarion at that point. Another good option is perception, and then picking the expertise and perception, because one thing that I found in this game is really annoying is when your whole party runs into a room and everybody fails a perception check. That sucks. I think I would go with sleight of hand and perception for our expertises. Most importantly about this level, we get College of Lore Bard. This is absolutely the subclass for Bard that we want to pick here. Absolutely. First of all, we get a way to make use of our reaction as a Bard. So one of the things about building a character in D&D, in the same respect, Baldur's Gate 3, you want to maximize your action economy. If you've heard this term before, basically what it means is you want to make use of all the actions available to your character in a given turn, so action, bonus action, reaction, and you also want to do the most you can with each of those actions, right? As a support character, you usually don't get a lot of use out of your reaction in a turn. This gives you something to do that supports your party with your reaction, which is obviously really cool. What this does basically is, as a reaction, you can incur your inspiration die as a penalty to an enemy's attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. At the moment that's a 1d6, but when we're done with this build it'll be a d8, which is quite a, that's a decent penalty to incur on an enemy. College of Lore Bard, great. That's not even the best thing about picking College of Lore Bard, so you just wait, buddy boy. As far as spells are concerned, if you went the route of making this your main character and therefore dumping Dex a little bit more and going back more into Charisma, Knock is a great choice here because you can lockpick with this spell. You usually let a level 2 spell slot every time you unlock something, but still really cool to have. Detect Thoughts is another good one here. That's actually a ritual spell when you're out of combat, so no cost to spell slots. I'm going to pick that one here because it's obviously super cool. Let's carry on going forward here. Level 6 we get to Bard 4. Bit of a boring level, I guess. We get another cantrip here. We're kind of running out of options, so what to pick for cantrips, because that's how many we get. We get another spell choice here. Again, we're still in Bard here, so we don't want to pick things that have saving throws still. So probably pick Knock here. Is a great one. Invisibility is a good one as well if you want to out of combat make people invisible. And then we get our feats. There's not really a feat in this game that really buffs support players, support character builds. So I just go for ability score improvement. Bump that wisdom up so that when we get back to cleric spells, our cleric spells, saving throws, and any spells like healing that gives bonuses to the healing based on your wisdom modifier, they're just better. Yeah, there's not really a feat that's a good option, in my opinion, for support builds. If you disagree and there's a feat that you like for a support build, let me know in the comments. Next, we are a Bard 5 at level 7. So, first of all, as a Bard 5, we get Font of Inspiration, which means we regain our Bardic Inspirations on short rests as well as long rests now, which is going to make our cutting words reactions more useful because we can use them more often. And on the same token, our Bardic Inspiration has now become a D8, which means that we get to, our reactions are better, our use of our cutting words are better, as well as the fact that we can use Bardic Inspiration for all the normal uses that we get Bardic Inspiration for. So, again, great. Level 3 spells, I'd kind of ignore all of these again, because most of these require saving throws. I think there's some nifty stuff you can do with Feign Death, where you can kind of rob some merchants of all of their goods using Feign Death. Let me know if you want me to make a little video about that one, but for most part I think Speak with Dead is kind of one of the more useful things for roleplay purposes, out of combat. It's a ritual spell out of combat, so it doesn't use a spell slot, so you don't have to worry about that, because going forward with this build, there's going to be a lot of really important spells at level 3 spells, so we'll get there, and it won't be very long until we get there. Because it's the next level. When we get to Bard 6, this is when we get magical secrets as a Bard. Before we get there, one thing we do get at level 6 is Counter Charm. Not something that you're going to use very often in combat. It's a full action to use it. Basically, you and your allies within 9 meters of you have advantage against being charmed or frightened. Spells, again, pick the one that doesn't have a saving throw against it. So that one. This is the most important reason we invested all 6 levels into Bard. These 2 spells. First of all is Haste. If you are at all a little bit familiar with Dungeons & Dragons or Baldur's Gate, you know why Haste is so good. Cast it on a person, you use your concentration on it for 10 turns, and the person you cast it on gets a whole second action. If you're a fighter, you're gonna have, if you're at max level, you're gonna have an extra 3 attacks in a turn if you're a full level 12 fighter. If you're a spellcaster, you get to cast Fireball twice, for example, in a turn. And then Warden of Vitality is a spell that not a lot of people know about. Shout out to Colby at D4 D&D Deep Dive. His videos are great. He did a really short video basically saying, why aren't more people talking about Warden of Vitality? It's basically a high level paladin spell. Paladins, you have to be pretty late level to get to level 3 spells. And this is a spell that's pretty much exclusive to paladins, unless you're a College of Law bard who gets magical secrets. Holy moly, this might be the best healing spell in the game. Let's just break it down a little bit. It's a whole action to cast it. It's not a concentration spell. So all these spells that we've got that vie for our use of our concentration, this is not one of them. So you cast it on yourself, and then for the next 10 turns, for your bonus action, you can cast an action. It's not a spell, doesn't use a spell slot, called Restore Vitality, where an ally within 30 feet of you, you heal them for 2d6 healing. If you've not added all that together yet, enter combat, you cast it on yourself. You can use your bonus action to heal somebody, or use your bonus action for something else. And then for the next 10 turns, without using any more spell slots, this is a level 3 spell, so use the one on your first turn you cast it, and then that's it. For the next 10 turns, you can heal somebody with your bonus action for free, basically. For free, just for using your bonus action. It's basically a healing word, a better healing word actually, that you get for free for the next 10 turns. It's amazing. And because it doesn't use your concentration, you can have that up and use it for the next 10 turns, and then cast haste and have your concentration on haste. Amazing. Amazing. Next, we get to character level 9. We're actually going to move away from Bard for now and go back to Cleric. So we get a couple things here. First of all, we get Aid, which is something that very soon we're going to have the 6th level spell slot, because we've picked levels in full level casters all the way up till 12th when we get there. So you can upcast Aid after every long rest at 6th level. Every spell slot you cast it at above level 2, you get an extra 5 hit points. So that's all of your allies are going to get 25 extra hit points, which across 4 allies, that's an extra 100 hit points you've just given everybody. And that's not counting if you have any familiars, summons, extra followers following you, because they will also get the 25 hit points. We obviously also get more spells here, and this is where, let's just get rid of all these real quick. Add on the important ones from here, which are those. We can just start picking some spells here that require saving throws, because we're back on Cleric now. So any spells that we pick here, they're going to use our Wisdom modifier for the saving throw. So things like Command, Hold Person, Blindness, these are all things that are fantastic. So we don't really want to pick anything that takes our concentration either. That's also quite important. Hold Person's kind of the exception to that rule, to be honest, because it's so good. But other than that, we already want Haste to be the thing we're concentrating on. And we're even going to get another thing that's vying for our concentration later on. So yeah, Spiritual Weapon's also a good one, just an extra man on the battlefield. So that's that. We are Cleric level 4 next at level 10. So here we get another cantrip. If you're playing the main character, your player character, maybe take Thaumaturgy. Other than that, I don't think it really matters which one, maybe Sacred Flame. We can prepare another spell here. I think Silence is maybe another useful one, but again, that's another concentration thing, so we're not going to be using that very often. I'm going to take another ability score here to increase our Wisdom all the way up to 20, so that our our spell DC is as high as possible. And then at Cleric 5, we get Destroy Undead, which is obviously an amazing thing to have. And we get some level 3 spells here. I would actually take those couple off and then take Remove Curse, because that's always useful to have. Spirit Guardians and Mass Healing Word. So one of the problems here is actually one of the limiting factors with this build is how many level 3 spell slots you have. You have the normal amount that you're ever going to get, because we're going to get all 12 levels in a spellcaster, but we've got a lot of spells at level 3 that are really good. So any of these that you can upcast, Spirit Guardians, Mass Healing Word, upcast them when you can, because frankly, even if you're not going to get much, or you don't need the extra power you get from upcasting the spell, using your 4th level spell slots instead of your 3rd level spell slots is always going to be more useful, because we want those 3rd level spell slots mostly for haste and Warden of Vitality. So these are excellent spells to have. Spirit Guardians is obviously a famous spell for clerics. It's an incredibly damage dealing spell. If you haven't used your 6th level spell slot on Aid, you can use it on Spirit Guardians and just be a fucking walking bowling ball through a combat. If it's a single target combat, so maybe it's not very useful, but if there's a fair amount of enemies on the battlefield, especially if they're all jumbled together, you cast Spirit Guardians at the maximum spell slot you've got and just fucking walk in there and do a ton of damage. That's great. And then Remove Curse is something that is super useful whenever you need it for one of your companions, but also I've found there's actually some story and quest related situations where Remove Curse is useful, so nice to have. And that is the final Cleric level we're going to get, because with our last level, I'm actually going to recommend one of 2 options. The first option is taking Wizard, and that's actually what I'm going to do here. That's the first option. And then the other option we've got is actually taking a 7th level in Bard. So the one thing this is going to do it is going to give us some 4th level spells, namely Freedom of Movement. It's a great way of snapping enemies out of stuns, difficult terrain around, it negates that problem. They can't be paralyzed or restrained. Super useful. Dimension Door is great, great invisibility, polymorph, all great options. But like I said, the one that I'm actually going to go for is Wizard. Let's talk about what we get by going for Wizard. First of all, we get cantrips. We already have a ton of cantrips, but we can pick some more here. And why wouldn't we? Because cantrips are lovely to have. We also get some wizard spells. Now, shield is absolutely the one we want to pick. And then for the rest, kind of pick whatever you like, I'll be honest. Enhanced leap is a great option though. And grease. And Chromatic Orb, another one, because you get so many damage types with that if you ever end up in a situation where you need to do a particular kind of damage, Chromatic Orb is nice. But mainly it's shield, because we only get to prepare one wizard spell. And shield is something that, it's a level 1 spell. It's probably one of the best level 1 spells in the game to just flat increase your armor class by 5 as a reaction. You know, as discussed earlier, our reactions are already going to be pretty full with our cutting words, but if you're concentrating on haste and you really don't want to get hit to risk failing the concentration save, take shield, you won't get hit. With the AC that we're going to have with this build, that means you'll basically not get hit. You can pretty much guarantee it with a level 1 spell slot. As you can see, I've got a little mod installed that changes the size of the interface here so that it's a little bit more readable, but you can see how many spells we've got access to. And this is the main reason we want to get Wizard. First of all, we've got Arcane Recovery. We're only a level 1 Wizard, which means we can only recover our first level spell slot, but it's nice to have. But more importantly, right, and this is more of a... You might disagree with me here, and you might want to take the 7th level in Bard instead, which is perfectly reasonable. The reason I want to go with Wizard is because I feel like when I'm level 12 and I'm a spellcaster, I should have some level 6 spells, some level 5 spells, even some more level 4 spells. We're not going to get those with this build otherwise. We'll get some level 4. We'll get one level 4 spell if we go 7th level Bard. But I kind of want more spells than that. And on top of that, there's some specific spells in the game that you only get a scroll for it once. You know, spoiler alert, we'll go to black and white, turn the audio back on when the screen goes back to colour so that I'll be done with the spoilers by then. But obviously in Act 1 you get the Summon Quasit scroll, which, you know, we're waiting a little while to get that. So maybe you could take a level in Wizard, learn the scroll, and then respec to take the level Wizard out and then take it again now. And then in Act 3, underneath the Sorcerer's Sundries, there's the 3 incredibly powerful spells of Artistry of War, which is basically Magic Missile on fucking steroids. Summon Diva, which is probably the best summon you can get in the game, and Dethrone, which is an incredible single target necrotic damage spell. You only get those scrolls once, and you can learn the spells if you're a wizard. And on top of that, any other spell that you learn in the game, you can learn it if you're a wizard. Alright guys, quick amendment. I'm recording this the day after I recorded the rest of this video. I was thinking about it all night and was trying to decide whether the Bard 7 or Wizard 1 thing was better. I was going back and forth, so here's my more refined opinion on this matter. If you have another wizard in your party, or if you're respecking one of the companions, probably Shadowheart, I would just take the 7th level in Bard. Not only is it quicker and simpler, but it's probably the more optimized way of doing it. However, if this is for your main character, which honestly I think most people aren't going to be playing a support character as your main character, but if you are, I would take the 1st level in Wizard. It's more complicated, it's maybe not the most optimized thing, but it is more fun. And ultimately that's what's important, isn't it, really? It is just more fun to be able to learn all those spells. So that's my more refined, precise opinion on the matter of Bard 7 versus Wizard 1 when you're at the max levels. So yeah, let's continue with the video. If you like this video, I really appreciate it if you leave a like. I like doing these sort of long form explainer videos about the class, getting into a little bit of the nitty gritty about how it works, how to play it. Just a chill little talk, you know, that's kind of the way I like to do things. here on the channel. So if you like that, like the video, get subscribed like I asked here earlier in the video, would really appreciate it. Hit the notification bell as well, not just because of the uploads, but I stream right here on YouTube as well. So if you could do that, that would be super appreciated, so you don't miss the notifications for any of the streams. We're streaming Baldur's Gate 3 all the time here. We upload videos of Baldur's Gate 3 all the time here. And if I ever get bored of this game, which doesn't look very likely, we'll be uploading videos on other games as well. So would really appreciate that support. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. And yeah, peace out. Have fun in Faerun.